Joseph Stalin, originally named Joseph Vissarionovich Dzugashvili, was born on December 18, 1878, in Gori, a small town in Georgia, then part of the Russian Empire. His family lived in poverty as his father, Vissarion, a cobbler, struggled to keep his business afloat, while his mother, Katevan, worked as a laundress. Stalin was the only surviving child after his two older brothers died in infancy. His childhood was challenging. Stalin's father became an abusive alcoholic who frequently beat both Stalin and his mother, eventually abandoning the family. Despite these hardships, Stalin's mother, a devout Christian, was determined to provide him with a better life. She enrolled him in the local church school, where he excelled as a student, ranking at the top of his class. However, Stalin faced significant health issues during his youth. At the age of 7, he contracted smallpox, which left permanent scars on his face. Later, a severe injury to his left arm from a horse-drawn cart accident left it partially disabled. Despite these setbacks, Stalin's early years were marked by resilience and determination, qualities that would shape his future political journey. Joseph Stalin's education began at the Gori Church School, where he excelled academically, earning a reputation as a top student. His performance secured him admission to the Tbilisi Seminary in 1894, a prestigious institution for training Orthodox Christian priests. However, Stalin's time at the seminary marked the beginning of his ideological shift. He grew disillusioned with religion and began exploring revolutionary ideas through banned books, including Karl Marx's Das Kapital and Nikolai Chernyshevsky's What is to be Done? During his seminary years, Stalin joined secret meetings of socialist groups, becoming increasingly vocal in his opposition to the oppressive Tsarist regime. In 1899, he was expelled from the seminary, officially for failing to meet academic standards, though his revolutionary activities likely played a significant role in his dismissal. After leaving the seminary, Stalin worked as a meteorologist at the Tbilisi Observatory, but his main focus remained political. He began organizing labor strikes and protests against the Tsarist government, often risking arrest. Stalin's involvement in these activities introduced him to the underground Marxist movement in Georgia, eventually leading him to join the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, RSDLP, in 1899. This was the first step in his journey toward becoming a central figure in the Bolshevik movement. After joining the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, RSDLP, in 1899, Joseph Stalin quickly became deeply involved in revolutionary activities. He worked to organize strikes and protests among factory workers, spreading Marxist ideas and rallying opposition to the Tsarist regime. Stalin's dedication to the cause earned him a reputation as a committed and resourceful activist, willing to take bold risks to achieve his goals. By 1901, Stalin was attracting the attention of the Tsarist secret police due to his political agitation. Forced to flee Tbilisi, he relocated to Batumi, where he continued organizing protests, including one that turned violent when police fired on demonstrators. Stalin was arrested in 1902 and sentenced to exile in Siberia, but he soon escaped and returned to Georgia to resume his revolutionary work. In 1905, during a wave of revolutionary fervor across Russia, Stalin aligned himself with Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks, the more radical faction of the RSDLP. He became known for his organizational skills and willingness to use illegal means such as robberies to fund Bolshevik activities. Stalin's influence grew within the party, and by 1912, Lenin invited him to join the Bolshevik Central Committee, marking a significant step in his political rise. Joseph Stalin played a pivotal role during the Russian Civil War, which followed the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. As a key leader in the newly formed Soviet government, Stalin was tasked with organizing and defending Bolshevik-held territories. He was appointed to several critical military and administrative positions, including overseeing operations in strategically important regions like Tsaritsyn, later renamed Stalingrad in his honor. Stalin's leadership style during the Civil War was marked by his ruthlessness and determination. He implemented harsh measures, including the destruction of villages suspected of supporting anti-Bolshevik forces to weaken the opposition. While these tactics drew criticism from other Bolshevik leaders, including Leon Trotsky, they cemented Stalin's reputation as a decisive and uncompromising figure. By the war's end in 1922, Stalin had emerged as a prominent leader in the Soviet Union, setting the stage for his eventual consolidation of power. Joseph Stalin launched the first five-year plan in 1928 to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union and transform its largely agrarian economy. The plan prioritized heavy industries like steel, coal, and machinery, aiming to increase production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. Massive infrastructure projects, such as building factories and expanding railways, were undertaken to support industrial growth. A key component of the plan was agricultural collectivization. Stalin forced millions of small farms to merge into large, state-controlled collectives, believing this would free labor for industrial work and increase food production. However, the policy led to widespread resistance from peasants, resulting in brutal crackdowns, forced relocations, and famine. Millions died, particularly in Ukraine during the Holodomor, a man-made famine caused by Stalin's policies. Despite the human cost, the five-year plans achieved significant industrial advancements. Factory production doubled, new cities were built, and literacy rates improved as workers were trained in technical skills. By the early 1930s, the Soviet Union had become one of the world's leading industrial powers. Stalin's industrialization drive was pivotal in preparing the nation for World War II, though it came at an immense social and human cost. The Great Purge, orchestrated by Joseph Stalin from 1936 to 1938, was a campaign to eliminate perceived enemies of the Soviet regime. Stalin used the state's secret police, the NKVD, to arrest, imprison, and execute millions of individuals, including Communist Party members, military officers, and ordinary citizens. Show trials, where accused individuals were forced to confess to fabricated crimes, became a hallmark of this period. Stalin's purges extended to the Red Army, resulting in the execution or imprisonment of many of its top commanders. This weakened Soviet military leadership, which had dire consequences during the early stages of World War II. The purges solidified Stalin's control over the Soviet Union, eliminating rivals and creating an atmosphere of fear. While Stalin justified the purges as necessary to safeguard the revolution, they caused immense suffering and destabilized Soviet society, leaving a legacy of trauma and mistrust. During World War II, Joseph Stalin emerged as a central figure in the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. Initially, he signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Adolf Hitler in 1939, a non-aggression agreement that allowed both powers to divide Eastern Europe. However, this truce ended abruptly in June 1941 when Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Stalin initially struggled to respond, but he soon rallied the Soviet military and population. He adopted scorched earth tactics, ordered the relocation of industries to safer territories, and mobilized millions to fight. Key victories, such as the Battle of Stalingrad in 1942-1943, marked turning points in the war. Under Stalin's leadership, the Red Army pushed German forces back, eventually capturing Berlin in May 1945. Stalin's collaboration with Allied leaders Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt during wartime conferences shaped the post-war order. While his leadership contributed significantly to the defeat of Nazi Germany, Stalin's wartime policies, including harsh treatment of Soviet soldiers and civilians, reflected his authoritarian rule. The Soviet Union's sacrifices during the war were immense, with millions of soldiers and civilians lost. But the country emerged as a global superpower under Stalin's leadership. After World War II, Joseph Stalin focused on expanding Soviet influence, setting the stage for the Cold War. The Soviet Union emerged as a global superpower, controlling much of Eastern Europe through a network of communist satellite states. Stalin sought to solidify this dominance by establishing pro-Soviet regimes in countries like Poland, East Germany, and Hungary. The division of Germany became a major point of contention. Stalin's blockade of West Berlin in 1948 prompted the Western Allies to launch the Berlin Airlift, highlighting the growing divide between East and West. Meanwhile, Stalin supported communist movements worldwide, including aiding Mao Zedong's victory in the Chinese Civil War in 1949. The Soviet Union's successful test of its first nuclear weapon in 1949 marked the beginning of an intense arms race with the United States. These developments solidified Stalin's legacy as a key architect of the Cold War. Joseph Stalin's legacy is one of the most debated topics in modern history. While he transformed the Soviet Union into a global superpower through industrialization and victory in World War II, his rule was marked by immense suffering. Policies like the 5-year plans and the collectivization of agriculture modernized the nation, but came at a great human cost. The Great Purge and the Holodomor remain dark chapters in Soviet history, with millions of lives lost. Stalin's role in defeating Nazi Germany and establishing the Soviet Union as a Cold War superpower cannot be ignored. However, his authoritarian methods and disregard for human rights have left a lasting stain on his achievements. What do you think of Stalin's legacy? Was he a visionary leader who secured the Soviet Union's future, or a tyrant whose brutal policies overshadow his achievements? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible historical stories. Thank you very much for watching.